The space station 7 was massive. It floated in the darkness between 3 different star systems, a meeting place for dozens of alien species. Ships came and went every hour. Traders sold strange goods. Diplomats made deals. Warriors showed off their strength. It was a place where the strong were respected and the weak were forgotten. Stepped off the small Earth shuttle and looked around. He was 23 years old, slim and not very tall. He wore simple civilian clothes, nothing fancy. His black hair was cut short and his face was calm and quiet. He carried only a small bag over his shoulder. He was part of Earth's first independent diplomatic team. Not a soldier, not a famous officer, just a young sent to watch and learn. His job was simple: observe alien cultures, write reports, stay out of trouble. The moment he entered the main trading hall, he felt eyes on him. Hundreds of aliens moved through the massive space. Some had scales, some had fur, some had too many arms or legs, but the ones who caught attention were They were giants, 8 feet tall, with 4 powerful arms and thick scaled skin. Their heads had bioluminescent crests that glowed different colors based on their mood. They moved through the crowd like kings, and everyone stepped aside for them. They were known across the galaxy as the greatest hunters and warriors. Their society valued physical strength above everything else. Walked quietly toward the human embassy section. He kept his head down and tried not to attract attention, but it was too late. A group of young warriors spotted him. There were 5 of them, all wearing ceremonial armor that showed their rank. Their leader was a massive warrior named. His crest glowed bright orange, a sign of excitement and aggression. Stepped directly into his path. The young human stopped. "Look at this," said loudly. His voice was deep and rough. "A Terran. I have heard about your species, soft skin, weak bones. You only reached the stars a few generations ago." The other warriors laughed. Aliens nearby stopped to watch. Entertainment was always welcome on 7. Looked up at. There was more than 2 feet taller than him and probably 5 times heavier. His 4 arms could easily tear a human apart. "I am just passing through," said calmly. "I mean no disrespect." Leaned down, bringing his face close to us. His breath was hot and smelled like metal. "No disrespect. Your existence is disrespect. Weak creatures like you should not walk among hunters. You should crawl." One of the other warriors shoved from behind. He stumbled forward but did not fall. He simply regained his balance and stood still. "Acknowledge our superiority," demanded. "Bow to the, admit that your species is lesser." The crowd was growing. Aliens of many species watched with interest. Some looked sympathetic toward the human. Most looked amused. A few in the back nodded with approval at his behavior. Took a slow breath. His face remained calm. There was no fear in his eyes, but there was also no anger. He simply looked at the way someone might look at bad weather. Unpleasant, but not worth fighting. "I have duties to attend to," said quietly. "May I pass?" The warriors exploded with laughter, grabbed by the front of his shirt and lifted him off the ground with one arm. "May I pass?" mocked in a high voice. "Listen to this creature. It does not even know how to fight. This is what Terrans send to the stars. This is their representative." He threw against a nearby wall. The young human hit hard but managed to roll with the impact. He stood up slowly, brushed off his clothes and said nothing. Waited for a reaction, a challenge, anger, fear, something. Gave him nothing. He simply stood there calm and patient like a stone in a river. Pathetic, spat. "Go, run to your embassy. Tell your people that they are not impressed. Tell them to send real warriors next time, not children." The warriors walked away laughing. The crowd began to break up. A few aliens shook their heads at the human's weakness. Within an hour, the story had spread across the entire station. The Terran was a coward. The Terran had no spine. The Terran was not worth respecting. Continued to the embassy without a word. But high above the trading hall, On a balcony reserved for the station's most important guests, someone had watched the entire encounter. He was the largest anyone had ever seen. His body was covered in ritual scars, each one representing a kill. His crest glowed a deep, steady blue, the color of ancient wisdom and controlled power. His name was, and he was the prime hunter of the people, the most feared warrior in 3 sectors. Legends said he had killed a sand dragon alone. Other legends said he had destroyed an entire pirate fleet with just his hunting ship. Had seen thousands of fights. He had seen brave warriors and cowardly ones. He had seen strength and weakness in every form. And right now, he was very interested in the young Terran. Most watchers had seen a weak human who refused to fight, saw something different. He saw a young man whose heartbeat never increased, whose breathing never changed, who took a blow that would have enraged most beings and simply stood up without emotion. That was not weakness. That was control. That was discipline beyond anything would ever understand. Leaned back in his seat and made a decision. He would watch this human. He would see what happened next. Because in his long life, the prime hunter had learned one important truth. The loudest roar often came from the weakest beast, and the most dangerous predators were always silent. 3 days passed on 7, did his work quietly. He attended meetings. He wrote reports. He observed how different species talked and traded and solved problems. He was good at his job because he was patient and paid attention to small details. But the mockery did not stop. Everywhere went, whispers followed. Aliens pointed at him and laughed. Warriors made insulting gestures when he passed. Someone scratched the word coward in galactic common on his quarters door. He cleaned it off without complaint. He ate alone in the station's food hall. Other humans on the diplomatic team felt embarrassed to be seen with him. Even Ambassador, his superior, kept her distance in public. She was a smart woman with sharp eyes and years of experience. She had worked hard to build Earth's reputation. Now she worried that was destroying it. "You need to do something," she told him privately in her office. "The other species think all humans are weak because of you. This is hurting our diplomatic position." Nodded. "What would you like me to do?" "I don't know, show some strength. Stand up for yourself. Do something other than just taking the abuse." Looked at her calmly. "If I fight them, I will probably lose. Then humans will look even weaker. If I challenge them and die, that is worse. Is it not better to wait?" Ambassador did not have an answer. On the 4th day, made his move. It happened in the central plaza, the busiest part of the station. Thousands of aliens were present, walked up to with his warriors behind him. This time, he was dressed in full ceremonial armor. His crest glowed bright red. "Terran," announced loudly, "I am tired of your cowardice. It insults me. It insults my people. Today you will answer for it." Stopped walking, he looked at without expression. "What do you want?" "I challenge you to an honor duel, in the arena, under Galactic Accord law." The crowd gasped. An honor duel was serious business. Under Galactic Accord law, a formal challenge could not be refused without consequences. If said no, he would be exiled from 7 forever. All humans would share in his shame. Earth's diplomatic mission would fail before it truly began. But if he accepted, he would have to fight in the arena, and was a trained warrior with 4 arms, twice the size and 10 times the strength. "You cannot refuse," said with a cruel smile. "I have made the challenge binding. Your Galactic Accord protects you, but it also traps you. Accept and die, or refuse and bring shame to your entire species." Was silent for a long moment. The plaza was completely quiet. Everyone watched. When asked, smile grew wider. "Tomorrow, sunset cycle." "I accept." The crowd erupted in noise. Aliens shouted and talked over each other, laughed and walked away with his warriors. Ambassador pushed through the crowd and grabbed his arm. "Are you insane?" she whispered harshly. "He will kill you." "Perhaps," said. There must be another way. Let me talk to the station commander. Let me find a legal solution. There is no legal solution. The challenge is binding, you know this. His face was pale. Then what do we do? Gently removed her hand from his arm. You do nothing. I will handle this. That night went to the observation deck on the top level of the station. It was a quiet place with huge windows that showed the stars. Very few aliens came here. He sat alone on a bench and looked out at the darkness. From his pocket he pulled out a small photograph. It was old and worn at the edges. The picture showed an elderly man with a weathered face and kind eyes. He stood in front of mountains, wearing simple clothes. His hands were rough from years of hard work. This was grandfather, the man who had raised him. Closed his eyes and remembered. He remembered the small house in the Korean mountains. He remembered waking up before sunrise to train. His grandfather taught him to fight, but not the way soldiers learned. It was older than that, traditional, focused on patience, timing, and using an enemy's strength against them. The mountain does not announce its height, his grandfather used to say. The river does not boast of its depth. Strength that must be shown is weakness in disguise. His grandfather had been a quiet man. He never raised his voice. He never bragged. But once, when was 12, 3 men had tried to rob their home. Watched from hiding as his grandfather, then 70 years old, defeated all 3 without taking a single hit. The men ran away in fear. Afterward, his grandfather made tea and said nothing about what happened. Understood now. His grandfather had trained him for moments like this, not for glory, not for pride, but for survival when it truly mattered. He put the photograph away and stood up. Tomorrow he would fight, and whatever happened, he would face it the way his grandfather had taught him. Far across the station, in the commander's office, the prime hunter was making an unusual request. I wish to observe the duel, said, from the arena floor. The commander, a nervous alien with too many eyes, looked uncomfortable. The arena floor is only for fighters and officials. It is not customary. I am invoking my right as prime hunter, Article 7 of the station agreement. I may observe any combat involving warriors. The commander checked his records, was correct. The right existed. May I ask why you are interested in this particular duel? The commander asked carefully. His blue crest glowed softly. No, you may not. The commander approved the request immediately. The arena was full. Thousands of aliens packed the seats, all the way up to the highest level. The noise was incredible. Species from across the galaxy had come to watch what they believed would be a quick and bloody execution. Warriors pounded their chest plates in a steady rhythm. The sound echoed like thunder. Their crests glowed orange and red with excitement. This was their entertainment. This was their justice. A weak Terran had dared to walk among them, and now he would pay the price. Entered first. He walked through the main gate with his arms raised, and the crowd roared with approval. He wore his best armor. 2 curved ceremonial blades hung at his sides. His crest burned bright red, full of bloodlust and confidence. He moved to the center of the arena and waited. Then entered. He came through a smaller side door. No celebration, no music. He wore simple training clothes, loose pants, a basic shirt, soft shoes, no armor, no weapons. The crowd fell silent for a moment. Then the laughter began. It started with the section and spread across the entire arena. Aliens pointed and mocked. Some threw small objects onto the arena floor. This was not a warrior. This was a joke. Ambassador sat in the diplomatic section, her face white with fear. Beside her, an elderly diplomat watched with interest. Your young one has no weapons, the diplomat observed. No protection. Does he wish to die quickly? Could not answer. Down on the arena floor, the prime hunter stood in his observation position. He was motionless, his arms crossed, his blue crest steady and calm. He watched walk toward the center with careful eyes. The arena master, a tall alien with ceremonial robes, stepped between the two fighters. Under Galactic Accord law, the challenged party may choose the victory condition, the master announced. His voice was amplified to reach every seat. Of Terra, what condition do you choose? Everyone expected him to choose first blood. It was the mildest option. The fight would end when one fighter drew blood from the other. It would give the best chance of surviving, even if he lost quickly. His voice was calm and clear. Submission or death. The arena went completely silent. Submission or death was the old way, the ancient way. It meant the fight would only end when one fighter surrendered or stopped breathing. It was rarely chosen anymore because it was so extreme. Even looked surprised. His crest flickered with uncertainty for just a moment before turning bright red again. Foolish Terran growled, "You choose to die slowly instead of quickly, so be it." The arena master raised his hand. The condition is set, submission or death, begin. He stepped back quickly. Attacked immediately. He was fast for his size, much faster than expected. His four arms moved in a spinning pattern, both blades cutting through the air in deadly arcs. He aimed to end the fight quickly and make it look easy. Was not there. He had already moved, sideways, low, ducking under the first blade and stepping past the second. He did not counterattack. He simply avoided and retreated. Spun and attacked again, and again, and again. Each time was gone before the blades arrived. He moved like water, flowing around the attacks without wasted motion. The crowd grew confused. This was not how prey behaved. Prey should panic. Prey should make mistakes. But the human moved with strange calm, always just out of reach. 5 minutes passed. Attacks grew harder, faster, more desperate. Sweat began to appear on his scaled skin. His breathing became heavier. He had never fought anyone who simply refused to be hit. "Stand still," roared, "fight me like a warrior." Said nothing. He continued to dodge, continued to retreat, continued to watch. Up in the stands, the elderly diplomat leaned toward Ambassador. "Your young one is not running," he whispered with surprise in his voice. "He is learning, he is studying patterns." Did not understand, but she watched. 10 minutes passed, was breathing hard now. His swings were getting sloppy, his footwork was becoming uneven. He had trained for quick kills, not long fights. His body was not prepared for this. But he was still landing hits. Had cuts on both arms, across his chest, on his leg. Blood stained his training clothes. Any normal fighter would have collapsed by now. Kept moving. His face showed pain, but his movement stayed controlled. His eyes never left. And then everything changed. Made a wide swing with his upper right arm. It was a little too wide, a little too slow. He had made this same mistake 3 times before. This time did not retreat. He exploded forward. The movement was so fast that most watchers could not follow it. One moment was 3 feet away. The next moment he was inside guard, past all 4 arms, pressed against the giant warrior's chest. Tried to grab him, but his arms were in the wrong position. Hands moved to his neck. His legs wrapped around his torso. He twisted his body in a strange way that used its own weight against him. Suddenly could not breathe. He dropped his blades. All 4 arms clawed at the small human attached to him, but held on with impossible strength, his grip like iron, his position perfect. Fell to his knees. His crest flickered wildly. His movements became weak. His eyes began to close. 15 seconds later, the mighty warrior collapsed face first onto the arena floor, unconscious, defeated. Released him and stood up slowly. Blood dripped from his wounds. His body trembled with exhaustion, but he was standing and was not. The arena was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Then footsteps echoed across the floor, heavy footsteps. The Prime Hunter walked toward with slow, deliberate steps. Every eye in the arena followed him. Allies backed away quickly, fear on their faces. No one wanted to be near the Prime Hunter when he moved with that kind of purpose. Stopped directly in front of. The human had to look up to meet his eyes. Blood ran down his face, but his gaze was steady. For a long moment, the two simply looked at each other. Then did something that no one expected, something that had never happened before in living memory. He dropped to one knee. He placed his primary hand over his chest, and he spoke a single word in a voice that carried across the silent arena. "Brother." The word spread across seven like fire. Within hours, everyone on the station knew what had happened. The Prime Hunter, the most feared warrior in 3 sectors, had called a human his brother. It was unthinkable. Had never acknowledged an equal. He had killed challengers who simply looked at him wrong. He once destroyed an entire pirate clan alone because their leader insulted his family name. Legend said he had never shown respect to anyone outside his own bloodline. And now he knelt before a young Terran who weighed less than one of his arms. The warriors did not know how to react. Some were angry, some were confused, many were afraid. If respected this human, then mocking him meant mocking, and no one wanted to mock. Woke up in the medical bay with shame burning in his chest. He had lost to a creature he called weak. He had been choked unconscious in front of thousands, and now his own Prime Hunter had sided with his enemy. His warriors visited him, but no one knew what to say. His political future was ruined. In society, such a defeat meant the end of all ambition. Meanwhile, rested in the human embassy, his wounds were treated by medical robots. They were painful but not serious. Ambassador sat beside his bed with 1,000 questions in her eyes. "How?" she finally asked. "How did you do that?" Looked at the ceiling. "I waited for the right moment." "That is not an answer. You defeated a warrior, a trained soldier. He had 4 arms and weapons and armor. You had nothing." "I had patience," said simply, "and he did not." Shook her head. "I looked at your file. It says you are a diplomatic, a junior one. Nothing about combat training, nothing about martial arts, nothing about any of this." Turned his head to look at her. "My file says what Earth's government knows. They do not know everything about me." Before could ask more questions, a message arrived. The Prime Hunter requested a private meeting with, tonight. Wanted to refuse. She wanted to protect her team member, but refusing was not possible, so she arranged the meeting and prayed that nothing bad would happen. That evening walked into his private quarters. The room was large and simple, did not like decoration. There were weapons on the walls, trophies from ancient hunts, and a few pieces of functional furniture. Sat in a massive chair designed for his size. His blue crest glowed softly in the dim light. He watched enter without speaking. Stopped at a respectful distance and waited. "Sit," said finally, gesturing to a smaller chair. Sat. The chair was still too big for him, made for species much larger than humans. His feet barely touched the floor. "I watched you for 3 days," said. "When first attacked you, when you cleaned the insults from your door, when you ate alone while others laughed. I watched everything." Nodded but said nothing. "Do you know what I saw?" "I do not." His crest flickered. "I saw a hunter, not a loud one who beats his chest and roars at shadows, a true hunter, the kind who waits in darkness, the kind who moves in silence, the kind who kills before prey knows death is coming." He leaned forward. "In the arena was not fighting you, he was fighting himself. His anger, his pride, his impatience. You simply waited for him to make mistakes, and when he made enough mistakes, you ended him in 3 seconds. Considered these words. My grandfather taught me that most fights are won before they begin. The actual combat is just the finishing step." Made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Your grandfather was wise. Among my people there is an old name for warriors like you. We call them shadow fangs. They are so dangerous that they have no need to prove themselves. They do not threaten. They do not show off. They simply wait and then they strike. He stood up and walked to the window. The stars shone cold and distant outside. In 300 cycles, I have met only 2 true shadow fangs. My father was one. He died fighting 7 enemies at once and killed them all before his heart stopped beating. The other one is standing in my quarters right now. Absorb this quietly. I am honored, but I am not a great warrior. I am just a young man who learned some skills from his grandfather. Turn to face him. That is exactly what a shadow fang would say. He walked back to his chair and sat down again. When I called you brother, it was not just a word. Among it is a sacred bond. It means I will fight for you. I will die for you. Anyone who threatens you threatens me. This cannot be undone. Felt the weight of these words. Why, you do not know me. We spoke for the first time today. Because I am tired of warriors who are loud but empty, said. His voice carried old pain. I am tired of young fools like who think strength means cruelty. I am tired of watching the galaxy reward those who shout and punish those who think. His crest glowed brighter. You showed me something different. You showed me that true strength is restraint, that mercy can come from power, not weakness. My father taught me this when I was young, but I have not seen it in anyone else, until today. Thought of his own grandfather. Across all the distance of space, across the differences between species, the lesson was the same. My grandfather used to say that the purpose of learning to fight is learning when not to fight, said. He believed that violence was the last option, not the first. Nodded slowly. Then your grandfather was a prime hunter of your own people. His spirit lives in you. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. 2 warriors from different worlds, understanding each other perfectly. Finally spoke again. The galaxy is watching now. Other species saw what happened today. They are asking questions about humans. If a quiet young man with no armor can defeat a warrior, what can your soldiers do? What can your veterans do? He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. For the first time, they do not look at humans with pity or amusement. They look with respect, and perhaps a little fear. Understood, everything had changed, not just for him but for all of humanity. And it was only the beginning. 6 months passed. Returned to Earth after his mission on 7 ended. He did not want fame or attention. He refused interviews and declined promotions. Instead, he took a quiet job training diplomatic personnel in self-defense and awareness. He taught young men and women how to stay calm in dangerous situations, how to read body language, how to survive without weapons. His students did not know the full story. They only knew that their teacher was patient, kind, and extremely skilled. He never raised his voice. He never showed anger. But sometimes during training he would move in ways that seemed impossible, too fast, too precise. His students whispered that he must have been a soldier or a spy, never confirmed or anything. His story had spread through military and government circles. Generals and admirals studied recordings of his arena fight. They analyzed his techniques and wrote reports. Some wanted to recruit him for special operations. He politely refused every offer. Meanwhile, something strange was happening. Young warriors began to question the old ways. They had watched their greatest hunter kneel before a human who won through patience instead of aggression. They had seen the proud warrior defeated by someone half his size. It made them think. A small movement started. They called it the path of wisdom. They believed that true strength meant more than muscle and violence. They studied other cultures, including human philosophy. They read about his grandfather and the mountain teachings. Some elders called them weak and foolish, but the movement grew. Watch this change from his position as prime hunter. He said nothing publicly, but privately he was pleased. The young ones were learning what his father had taught him long ago. one day made an announcement that shocked the galaxy. He would visit Earth. It would be the first time a prime hunter had ever set foot on human soil. Diplomats and politicians prepared for weeks. Security teams worked overtime. Everyone expected to meet with presidents and generals, to sign treaties and attend formal dinners. But when ship landed, he did not go to any capital city. He did not meet with any government officials. Instead, his ship flew to a small region in the Korean mountains. Was preparing tea in his grandfather's old cottage when he heard the sound of engines. He walked outside and watched a shuttle land in the small field below the house. The trees shook from the wind of its descent. Emerged alone. He wore simple traveling clothes, not armor, no weapons. His massive form looked strange against the peaceful mountain landscape. Birds flew away in surprise, then slowly returned. Walked down the path to meet him. "I had a feeling you would come," said. "You knew I would," replied. "Our bond demanded it." They walked up to the cottage together, had to bend almost double to fit through the door. Inside, the house was small and simple, wooden floors, paper screens, the smell of old books and tea. On the wall hung the photograph of his grandfather. Stood before it for a long time. He studied the old man's face, the kind eyes, the weathered skin. "This is him," said. It was not a question. "Yes, he died 2 years ago, peacefully in his sleep." Made a low sound of respect. "Where does he rest? I would pay honor to your elder hunter." Led him up a winding mountain path. The trail was narrow, made for human feet, but followed carefully. They climbed for an hour through pine forests and over rocky streams. Finally, they reached a small clearing at the top of a hill. A simple grave marker stood there, overlooking a valley of green and gold. Mountains stretched into the distance. Clouds drifted slowly across the sky. Stopped before the grave. He stood in silence for several minutes. Then he performed a ritual that had never seen. He pressed all 4 hands against his chest. His crest glowed deep purple, a color of mourning and respect. He spoke words in the ancient tongue, a prayer for fallen warriors. When he finished, he remained kneeling for a while longer. "Your grandfather's spirit is strong here," said quietly. "I can feel his wisdom in the wind." Felt tears in his eyes but did not let them fall. "He would have liked you. He always said that true warriors recognize each other, no matter what form they take." They sat on rocks near the grave as the sun began to set. The sky turned orange and pink and purple. It was the most beautiful sunset had seen in years. "The galaxy is changing," said finally. "Old empires grow nervous. New alliances form in secret. Species that have been peaceful for centuries are building warships. There is a storm coming, brother. I feel it in my bones." Nodded. He had heard similar whispers in diplomatic channels. Tensions were rising everywhere. "And you came here to tell me this?" Turned to look at him. "I came here because I needed you to understand something. When the storm comes, I will not stand with species who mock the quiet and underestimate the patient. I will not stand with those who only respect loud violence and cruel strength." His crest glowed steady blue. "I will stand with those who endure, those who think before they strike, those who show mercy when they could show fury. I will stand with Terrans." He extended his primary hand toward. "Whatever comes, we face it together, as brothers." Looked at the massive hand. He thought of his grandfather's teachings. He thought of the arena on 7. He thought of all the young humans he was training, preparing them for a galaxy that was more dangerous than they knew. He clasped hand, human fingers wrapped around alien palm, 2 species, 2 warriors, 1 bond. Together, agreed. They sat there until the stars came out, the same stars that had watched from the observation deck of 7, the same stars that had sailed between for centuries. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was changing. Conflicts were brewing. Challenges were coming that neither of them could predict. But for now, on a quiet mountain in Korea, Two brothers watched the night sky in peaceful silence. And both knew, without speaking, that when the storm finally arrived, they would be ready. The mountain does not announce its height. The river does not boast of its depth. And the galaxy would learn, soon enough, that the quiet ones were often the most dangerous of all.